Hey there, friends. It's Carpo again. Let's get this camera straightened out. There we go. How's everybody doing today? Well, I wasn't even going to make this video. I really have some other things to do, and I'm trying to get motivated to live my life, so to speak. And I thought that was the perfect reason to make this video. It was just kind of some thoughts I've had on my mind this morning about where our society is heading and our short-term thinking and how it's constantly got us into trouble through history. I think it came down to a Vox video I watched earlier about a pristine forest that I believe is northeast of the Great Lakes. I can't recall where it was exactly. I'm not that familiar with all the states over there. I don't know if it was Minnesota, Michigan, or what, but there's a forest up there where a guy was talking about how he just drinks right out of the river and it's got pristine waters. And during the Obama era, they put protections on the land. And of course now in the current administration, the Trump administration decides that they're going to remove those protections so they can allow copper mining on that land. Now this is no news story and this isn't Trump hate, this has nothing to do with politics. This is about how people, individuals, want to be seen as these heroes, therefore they are willing to destroy years, if not decades, worth of protectionism and work in order to make themselves look good to a few people, especially if it's in their voter base. So if you can get all the miners who lost their jobs to believe that they're going to get their jobs back, well, you get that many more votes. The cost, of course, is the long-term destruction of our own environment, and we've seen it over and over. I mean, the idea that opening up, pristine lands to mining is going to somehow benefit us has been shown to be bullshit over and over and over. It gives a few jobs to a few miners, and the machines these days do most of the work. The corporations reap most of the profits, and then they leave just a devastated wasteland of mine tailings behind them. And, not only that, but all the chemicals that they use to extract the metals leach out into the soil, blow out into the atmosphere, and the people basically kill themselves, or the local people, die. This has been shown over and over to be true with these large corporations who pump huge profits out of the ground and then just leave the city to die. And there are so many stories. There's a story up here in Washington, Montana, I think it's Libby, Montana, which had that, there was so much pollutant left that people were getting cancer at a crazy rate. So I don't want to get too far into that. I'm using that as a metaphor or an example as to where I'm coming from in the sake of short-term profits over long-term health. Now, a long time ago, a couple hundred years ago, let's say, before the Industrial Revolution really took off heavily, everything that we could do to better our lives was worth it. And what I mean by that is, at the time, we weren't worried about whether we were destroying our local environment or harming animals or wildlife. What we were most concerned about was living ourselves. And so we would do whatever we could to increase our lifespan, to improve our own surroundings. Once we got to the point where we were relatively comfortable, we started to want more. We take more and more. It seems to be part of human nature, that greed, this idea that it's all about progress, has failed to diminish. This idea that progress is something important, that we need more and more money, more and more economy. I was just holding a $5 billion bill the other day. I've got a whole stack of them from, God, I can't remember where it was now. I'm kind of having a brain fart, but Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, their economy went to shit because they just printed more and more money for the sake of wanting to look better and better, making it look like they have more and more, and pretty soon it cost a $5 billion bill to buy a loaf of bread or some eggs. Eventually the whole economy collapsed and now it's just novelty money, if you will. Same thing in Venezuela and so many other places. And to think that America isn't going to suffer the same fate is really delusional thinking, because we, even though money is just a metaphor or a symbol, it's the symbol that people trust. So when the economy starts to falter, everybody goes crazy. It's every man for himself type of attitude. And we're going to see how bad it can get, I believe. But I still have a positive outlook on life, and I'm going to do my best to try to improve the world that I live in. One of the saddest things is that so many people who could make an impact that are in politics, in the media, on the news. They want to keep their jobs so bad that they're willing to kiss ass to some shithead president or any politician and go along with something that they might not agree with in their own value system, but they know if they disagree with, they're going to lose their career and they're going to be ridiculed. And that to me is the ultimate loss of value in a human being. In other words, if you compromise your integrity just to keep your job, then you don't have any integrity. You never did. It's to me, I think the only thing that we really know as humans is what we stand for as individuals. And we can assume what other people think and other people stand for, but really we know that we can only feel in our own hearts what's right and wrong. We can try to resonate with other people and discuss things with people. So what has happened with the internet now is that people are actually allowed to speak out about these things, which, as I mentioned in a video yesterday, that's caused things like frivolous slap lawsuits to keep people quiet, to keep people from speaking up. And it even gets worse because there is several companies, let's say oil companies and fracking companies, who have been shown. I read an article earlier about how they are using Facebook in order to pick out parts of the protest. They find the protesters on Facebook, they pick out their posts, and then they're using this to try to stop the protests by showing, look at these people are horrible people, they mean us harm. Shutting up people's free speech for the sake of not wanting to hear what they have to say. And to me, that's something that everyone needs to fight. Every person. If there's anything worth fighting for, it's the right to say whatever you want to say. And unfortunately, this also includes hate speech. I hate to tell you people out there, especially the extreme left wing, don't call me a bad name, college kids that really think they need a safe space. I don't mean that offensively. I mean that realistically. You don't have any safe spaces. I mean, it's a common respect we're supposed to have for one another. But if you sue someone for calling you a name, then, you're kind of missing the point. Which the people who can actually afford to sue folks for calling them names are usually the wealthy. But it's expanded down into the extreme liberal arts colleges and whatnot. And I am a liberal, okay? So I'm not sitting here talking shit about liberals as a conservative. I have much more shit to talk about conservatives. They want to hang on to their guns, they want to hang on to their Bibles. I have no problem. I'm not saying that that's true. I'm saying that that's what's always said. They just want to fuck over anybody who doesn't believe what they believe. And I don't believe that's true, because I know a lot of conservatives who are very intelligent people who know what they're talking about, who aren't even Christians, who don't even own a gun. So what I'm saying is that there's no cut and dry, these are liberals, these are conservatives, and there never has been. But those tactics are being used against us, divide and conquer, and the people are buying into it. They continuously have been. We're fighting amongst ourselves instead of fighting the corporations that are completely fucking us over. And the politicians, and the special interests, and the other countries that, America has their hand in everybody's pocket and everybody has their hand in America's pocket. Selling arms to Saudi Arabia, one of the most oppressive regimes in the world. And they're like our greatest trading partner for weapons. I mean, there is no value system these days. It's all about greed, profit, recognition. And it's sad because that's rubbing off onto the youth, and the kids of today all want to be famous. I want to be a YouTuber, or I want to be a millionaire, or what was it like on The Simpsons, a cowboy astronaut millionaire? No, that was a Family Guy. But anyway, basically what we have in society right now is an existential crisis and a fear of change, whereas half the people have a fear of change, and the other half, they want to change too quickly without really considering why we have some traditions and why the past is the way it is. Everyone wants to change quickly, and then everyone else wants to just leave things as they are. And what do? It's like, you can't win that game. We have to discuss it. And I guess my real message here is that we have the wrong fucking enemy. We're fighting each other. The minute I talk shit about Trump, somebody's going to talk shit to me about how, Trump's the greatest thing to ever happen to this country, and he's helping us, and he says it like it is. And I'm like, you're fucking wrong. I'm sorry. This guy is a complete douchebag. He has no interest in your interests. Doesn't care about America. He cares about himself. But that's my opinion. And if you have a different opinion, I respect that, as long as it's based on some sort of something you can show. I can show how he's damaging the environment and setting us back decades. I can't see any real progress. When people talk about money and jobs come and go. Our economy is hanging by a fucking string. Seriously. The U.S. economy is a joke. In 2008, when the whole housing crisis happened and everything collapsed, what did we do? The taxpayers, we, the people who got fucked over, the very same people who lost their homes, ended up paying more taxes to bail out the very fucking banks that screwed them over. And I'm not going to say that, if you bought a house and you can't pay for it, well, you're going to lose that house. But the problem is more complicated than that. And we all know it. And the problem is, unfortunately, that most people are so lazy today, they don't want to do any research at all. They want to listen to a newscast or some celebrity or YouTube personality tell them what's really going on in the world. And that is lazy as hell. I'm not saying that you can always find the true answers. I'm saying that you owe it to yourself to look at every angle if you're going to make a claim or if you're going to stand by something. Most people will vote for somebody just because they're the party that they believe in, not because they actually share the values. And now, I want to make this clear. All the shit I talked about Trump, I didn't vote for Clinton. I fucking hated Clinton. Hillary Clinton is one of the most disgusting people that I can imagine voting for. I mean, she rubs me the wrong way in every single angle. There's nothing I like about Hillary Clinton at all. But people went for Trump because he seemed to be on their side. He was condescending to the other people, but not to everyone. And this is where the Democratic Party has lost it. They're just condescending to everyone, and they're all about their own party rather than being about the people. There is no party for the people in this country. And so the people are not represented at all. And we haven't been for a long time. And what do we do about that? Well, it doesn't seem to matter because we're fighting on Facebook and other places about who's right and who's wrong. And you're just a cuck, oh, you're just a libtard, or, you're just a racist then. It just goes back and forth, and it's so pathetic. As long as you keep people divided, you can keep doing what you want and keep fucking over the planet, keep fucking over the people. And anytime there are certain people who, if I were to say, oh, we're destroying the environment or we're harming our own world, they would say, oh, you're just a liberal trying to stop progress. We need money, we need jobs. And I'm like, the whole point is not whether we need jobs. Governments don't create jobs. The market creates jobs. I've even heard that the government says that they want to create a whole bunch of jobs just so they can give jobs to people in certain areas, certain places, certain countries. They want to create unnecessary, put it this way, people are so desperate to give people what they want that they're willing to tell them that they're going to get what they want, regardless of whether that's true or not. It seems like honesty is dead. It seems like integrity is dead. And I wouldn't expect anything different except for the fact that we have access to so much information now. And I feel very alone in this world. And sometimes it makes me very cynical. Sometimes it makes me want to just give up giving a shit. But I don't, because in my heart I feel like it's important. These things are important to discuss, to talk about. I'm just as frustrated with all political parties as I am with all corporations that don't care about the people. As I am to all politicians who don't care about the people. And what I'm getting at is we're on our own, people. We are on our own. During the fire in California, the Camp Fire, which burned Paradise last year, there were a lot of stories of people who stayed in their homes and burned alive because they said they're waiting for the government to tell them what to do. All I can say is that lends it's a very important point. I've heard this from family and friends that said, well, if anything were to happen, they say, well, what are you going to do if there's a major quake or fire, catastrophe, or solar flare, or nuclear war? They say, well, I'd wait to be rescued. If you really think you're going to be rescued in a nationwide catastrophe, that just shows me how ignorant people can be. The fact that you think that there's enough fire and rescue people to go save every person, that's the whole point. Our society is set up for small-time chaos. And so the message I want to convey there is that if anything big really happens in your world, in your society, in your community, don't expect anybody to bail you out. We all need to be self-sufficient. And I think that people rely way too much on their government to help them. They expect to be just taken care of, and that's completely absurd. The government's supposed to be there in order to uphold our laws, but not to protect us against our own stupidity. We have to be smarter than that. And it's almost like we're declining as a society. But I'm trying to hang in there. I'm trying to make the best of it. I'm trying to embrace the fact that I'm alive and that all I can do is the best I can do. But in this world today, it's really hard to know what path to take. And so therefore, I've been in confusion lately. Like, do I want to start my own business doing this or this or this? And you think, well, in 5 years, this won't exist or this might not exist. It was like with my Kratom business. I thought, is this going to fall through because Kratom's going to become illegal right when I start getting my business established? And so because of that, I kind of lagged. And then I'm like, well, what should I move on to next? And then I step back and go, wait a minute. I can't do what I want to do because the government's getting involved and trying to tell us what we can consume. Once again, we're being blocked by those who we put in charge to protect our interests. America was a great place at some time, I'm sure. And I think it's still superior to so many nations where people are oppressed, where the media is jailed, where people are locked away for saying how they feel, where the internet is blocked from certain sites because they don't want the people hearing the truth, like China. China's a disgusting place in that way. But are we really that much different? We're trying to change internet laws. We're trying to, like even the president said, when he was going to get elected, he said, we're going to increase libel laws and sue the ass off of the media when they say bad things about us. What kind of bullshit is that? The fact that people voted for this guy after saying he was going to stop people from saying how they feel completely negates the whole First Amendment. And so it gives me the idea that people just don't give a shit anymore. And so I do give a shit. I give a shit about my country. I give a shit about my neighbors and my people. But you can only give so much of a shit when so many people just don't care and don't put in any work or effort and just want to fight. And I think that they're the minority. In other words, most of us, I think, can have rational discussions. The ones that are screaming the loudest usually have the least to say. And often the loudest are the ones who feel like they're unheard because they have nothing to say. So they continue to speak. And this is how you get so many lunatic YouTube channels with people ranting about bullshit. And people believe it. And now we have people even quoting, even the news or they're quoting these YouTubers or random vloggers because they're posting these things that they believe is true. And so the line between truth and bullshit has become so obscured. It's really hard to know what's real anymore. You got to follow your heart, man. You really got to. And sometimes that will lead us astray. But in this world, I would like to say research is king, but sometimes you just got to step back and look at the big picture and say what really matters. So those are my thoughts, and thanks for listening. Let me know what you think. Talk to y'all later. Do your best to protect your world and your people, and try not to be too cynical because of all the bullshit. Later, people. Talk to you soon.